All right, so welcome to the final presentation for this project. Really, really grateful for WillCap for all the support and also our mentors at Delta for being there and supporting us, and a huge shout out to the team. So we'll start with the quick introductions, problem statement, a demonstration, technical review, impact, and then there would be time for some question answers. So I would ask Sean to take this part and talk more about Delta. Perfect. So I think we have already met a couple of times with just a formal introduction to the team. And there's Naman, Sydney, Marlissa, and me. Manas, we couldn't make it today because of some work commitment. So we will just cover her part as well. So we already know if we have legwork on this organization. So WillCap definitely comes up with the mission to unlock early stage social and financial capital for entrepreneurs, building emergent solution for environment, social, and economic challenges around the world. Um, so how does WillCap does it is based on different programs that they have where they support the different organizations and entrepreneurs. In terms of the problem statement, we could understand that the organization collects extensive feedback through post-program surveys across multiple programs, and currently the survey analysis is very time consuming, and it requires a lot of manual work that results into around 10 hours approximately per program. So there are valuable qualitative insights that take time to uncover, and it delays the program improvement. And that's where our project comes in the picture, where we are helping the organization solve this problem. So in terms of the scope of the work, the objective is to develop and implement an intelligent process automation solution utilizing AI and NLP models, which can help in analyzing qualitative and quantitative data from entrepreneur surveys to identifying the recurring themes, sentiment patterns, and priority improvement areas. There were two different use cases that we talked about during the process of defining the scope. One is informing program improvement, regularly assessing how to best improve the programs based on the responses we are getting from the participants, in this case entrepreneurs, and reporting to the partner. So being able to report the qualitative side to the different funders would be helpful. In terms of the high level project plan, we did a lot of data collection and consolidation, and that's where WillCap tech team helped us a lot with all the to and fro. Then we did a bit of data exploration and then came up with a solution. And then the last part is the knowledge transfer for this program. Now I would ask Sydney to take us through the demonstration, and for that I would stop sharing and Sydney would take over. You're on mute, Sydney.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Just checking. Can everyone see my screen? Let me make it
Yes.
smaller. Okay, so as I usually mentioned, we build an NLP pipeline to take all of your qualitative data and find insights from that. So the dashboard that you're looking at right now has 3 different types of analysis. The first one is topic modeling, which finds recurring themes in the data. The other one is sentiment analysis, which extracts how the founders and your users feel about their experience. And then the last one is a summarization model, which condenses text into shorter summaries. But right now, this first tab is a quick overview of what exactly the type of data that you guys have is. And I'm not sure if you've dove into this, but this is more on the quantitative side. But we thought it'd be good just to get an idea of exactly what you're working with. And we also have another notebook or another part of the pipeline where we clean the data, and there are more descriptive insights there. But just for the purposes of this, I will dive more into the qualitative work. So what you're looking at here is all of the themes that the model BERT topic found from the data. And I just want to note that this was inductive. So the model goes in and takes insights without being specified what it's supposed to be looking for. But there is functionality built in where if you guys would like to specify exactly what themes you want to acknowledge, it's as easy as just listing them out in a list here. But yeah, it's able to be filtered based off data source. So say if you want to focus on the alumni surveys and see maybe, okay, what alumni program support do the alumni want and look for? You'll be able to see here the different themes that the model found. And when you click on these, it also shows an excerpt or an example of a quote from the surveys that this theme was found in. So yeah, this is the first section. The next one is a bit more focused on data visualization using these themes. So again, I'll filter by alumni survey, and then you're able to also filter by question. So let's see specific network connections needs. These were the themes that the model found that founders listed as being specific network connections that they needed. And if you hover over this, you can also see specific keywords and the number of responses that had this theme there. And this is just an overview of the theme landscape. If you wanted to look at all sources, it's interactive this way, where the larger the size of the box, that signifies the more responses that contain that theme. And then you'll also find the count here. So 176 founders listed environmental sustainability in their application essay. I'll go back to using the alumni survey. And also for this visualization, I feel like when a lot of founders list the same needs, it can be conflated, or I wanted to look at this in a way where we can view a baseline of how many founders are listing a theme. So it's easier to acknowledge when maybe there's a specific cohort that where the theme comes up more than usual. So right now we're looking at it by region. So just to clarify, these gray bars are still significant, but I just wanted to highlight that it means that there was a smaller group of founders that were placed here. So it's still good insights, but I would focus on the color bars, which contain groups larger than 15. So the way that you would read this is that in Asia, they're 2.76 times more likely to list digital and financial inclusion for farmers. And then the same analysis is done by sector here, and then also by company size. And this will look crazy at first, but once you filter by question, things clear up a bit. And then also if it's too cluttered and you want to hide some, you're able to just click here and remove them from the visualization. And next, this visualization is a way for you to look at, so first I'll just clarify, it takes the data from the input surveys. where I believe they listed different needs. And then it also, if as long as that same founder answered the alumni survey for the same question, it'll show what type of support that they wish they had. So I just wanted to clarify that um, we clean the data so it's accurate in terms of making sure that the founders answered those questions and they're not conflating the data. But here you can filter by all these different cohorts, company size, region, sector, whether it was women-led or not, and then also the business model. So I'll just choose maybe for growing businesses. You'll see here that 14.9% of founders listed that they received follow-on funding guidance, and 33.8% wished that they had received funding guidance when it comes to growing companies of this size. And then the N equals 74, that's just the sample size. So these are 74 founders. And then you can see here where 10.8% of growing companies stated that they wished that they had mentorship and coaching, and then 16.2% said that they received it. So that's a pretty common theme that you'll see in the other analysis, that like you're doing very well, very strong in mentorship and coaching. And of course, a common problem that founders have is finding funding. And this is just an easier way to look at the themes and see which ones are the most prevalent. And I also want to note real quick that just for the sake of QA, here you go. We also export all of the themes and all of the keywords and responses so that you can go in and actually make sure that the themes are showing what you would believe them to also be as a human in the loop. So just because it's important, like we wanted to automate this, but also be sure that you feel confident about the insights that you're getting. So next, I'll move on to summaries. This is I'll just talk about this briefly. It pretty much takes in all of the survey inputs by question, and then creates a brief summary for it here. And you can see the number of responses that were combined to create the summary on the right. And now there's also the sentiment analysis section. And I'll skim through this briefly, but I will pass it on to Naman to discuss this section more via the slides.
All right, so I'm going to share the screen for Naman.
Okay, thanks, Ayushi, and thanks, Sydney. So let's now, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, perfect. So now let's move towards the sentiment analysis part. So basically, on the basis of the data which we got from the WillCap team, we surveyed the data for the 235 companies that were spread amongst the 44 countries, spanning 13 years of WillCap programs from 2012 to 2025. So this was the majorly the data on which we did the sentiment analysis. So basically, the 69% of the companies scored positive results, 29% of the companies, like the reviews, the feedbacks were neutral, and only 2% was, which we could say, negative ones. So basically, to do the sentiment analysis, we use basically the VADR technology. It is basically a rule-based sentiment scorer that actually reads each word and assigns it a value between -1 and 1. So the key design decision was scoring each of the four survey columns independently, rather than combining them, because each column captures different emotional context. So that was the reason why we then combined them into a weighted composite, giving peer effectiveness and received support double. Uh, the weight since those are the direct program opinions. Also, we actually set a benchmark that anything above 0.10 is positive and below minus 0.10 is negative, and anything in between them is neutral. We also actually did a bit of research, and basically we also saw there were different models like Distilbert, Robert AQ, and GPT 4.0 short. Each one had its own limitations, but eventually this was a model which was being best suited for the data, and hence we decided to move to this model. Next slide, please. Okay, so basically, this slide basically answers the most important question. I would say that what should the WillCap team need to do differently. So this chart basically shows the top 6 support categories, and so basically, green one is like how many founders said it was the best part of the program, and red is like how many said it was the most missing part or the part that was not completed. The peer-to-peer feedback obviously leads at 40. The mentor feedback is 33. Financial analyst is 39. The main thing which we found out was that the access to funding was the major issue for most of the startups, as uh, like 43 founders named it as missing. So the main cause, the negative side, I would say, or the main missing side is the access to funding opportunities. That was the standout thing. Uh, Once we share the Google Colab notebook with you, you could also see a detailed information or the detailed review on which basically startups from which countries, which regions had the most difficult time having the access to funding opportunities and everything. Uh, Next slide, please. Okay, so this is basically a complete picture of all the basically 15 best categories and the worst categories side by side. So, like as I just told, the peer-to-peer feedback leads at 40, followed by the financial analyst CA and the mentor feedback. Uh, so this is basically in this slide we cover all the categories, the 16 categories that we had in the data. So basically, the pattern across all 3 slides is consistent. Uh, like with the peer feedback, financial analysis, mentorship being the basically it excels at building founder capability. The opportunities in connecting those basically the capable founders to capital and markets. That was the basic thing which was missing, and this that is basically the single most actionable finding from this particular analysis. So this was mostly all about the sentiment analysis part. Now over to Melissa for the technical review.
Thank you, Naman, and thank you, Sydney, for the walkthrough of the summarization, sentiment analysis, the dashboard, everything. That was wonderful. Just to give everyone a visual of the data flow that we've already kind of spoken on early in this meeting, we start off with the raw survey data. So this is data over the past 10 plus years with relevant information that was spread across various sheets in the Excel. So we put that into a cleaning script, and in that script, we standardize everything. We merge all the relevant sheets together, and then we standardize the columns, the column entries, and that looks like translating all the entries into English. There were many responses that were in languages such as Turkish or Russian, so making sure that they're all in English so that when we do the analysis, the filler words are in different languages don't interfere with the interpretation of the meanings. So we translate other responses into English. We remove unhelpful things such as duplicates, blank entries, and we resolve encoding artifact errors, which can happen as we move around files around. The way that we save the files or the way that it chooses to decode can sometimes create artifact errors. So for example, if a response had a character with the accent over the letter, it'll sometimes read as just something ineligible. So resolving those sorts of errors, and then also normalizing the categorical fields. So from the cleaning script, we get our cleaned survey data. We export 2 files. One just has only the qualitative columns, and then the regular standard one has every single thing, like the context on the business and the qualitative and the quantitative columns. And that gets put into the analysis script that Sydney showed us earlier. So there's 3 main analysis that's going on. We have the summarization, we have the sentiment analysis, and we have the topic clustering. And that all gets fed into the interactive dashboard that has relevant visuals and charts and all that fun stuff across separate tabs. Yeah, we can move on to the next slide. Going a little bit deeper as to what each phase of the analysis utilizes and why we chose those things. For topic clustering, it uses the BERT topic algorithm, which has a good combination of various machine learning algorithms such as HDBScan and CT-IDF to find like the common themes that it's like grouping together, and then determine its relevance by its frequency, and that is actually like a representative topic. And then we use pre-trained sentence transformers for embeddings, and embeddings, of course, are what are used to actually get the semantic meaning out of the text. Sort of kind of translating those like numbers, those like math into, actual human insights. And then we could also change the cluster size parameter to control for the granularity of the topic. So if we find that the topics that are generated are a little too broad, we think there's something hiding underneath, we can make that number a little bit smaller to get those more granular topics. For sentiment analysis, I've mentioned before, it's using Vader, which is commonly trained on, or which is trained on social media data, which, although survey data tends to be more formal than social media data, because Vader uses, like it does more than just apply a number to a word. It actually takes into consideration like the syntax, like the order of the words, like sometimes we use words like extremely or rarely. It actually like feeds into that when it comes to determining like the emotion that it's trying to convey. So it has a more dynamic read on sentiment than other models do, and it doesn't require any like prior training on a specific data set. So we found this to be really helpful for this part of the analysis. And then for summarization, it's using a Hugging Face model, which is another pre-trained model that doesn't require any like pre-training on a specific data set. You saw throughout the dashboard, there's like some helpful widgets to help with the user interface and make sure that it's user-friendly for our non-technical audience. And then for any security concerns, we are using Google Colab secrets feature so that we ensure that any sensitive data that you're inputting into the tool isn't actually being stored there. So everything should be secure.
Right. Thank you so much, Sydney, Naman, and Marlisa, to take us through the demonstration and the technical review. The impact of this project is going to be in 3 ways. So the application, basically the solution, enables the organization to detect the recurring concerns across programs, monitor participant sentiments, and prioritize program enhancement. So let's say if the multiple users identify the challenge with mentor matching, then WillCap can adjust that mentor engagement strategies and add more value to the participants. In terms of the impact, it is expected to reduce the survey analysis time by 75% because of the automation, and it can definitely help the organization to come up with the solutions quickly and help the organization and entrepreneurs even faster than they do right now. And in terms of sustainability, so long-term success looks like that even after, like, for the next year's post participant surveys, the WillCap is using this similar model with us, and for that we would give you all the files that we have used, all the notebooks, and also a recording and a write-up about how to use this tool even in the future as well. So yeah, this is about the whole project. Let's open some space for the question answers now.
Yeah, let me start off by just saying congratulations, team. What an incredible project. That was really sophisticated, and it's one of the more advanced natural language processing solutions that I've seen. Actually, my question's more to just the WillCap team. How, on these initial results that you saw in the survey data, did it align what we went through here, just some of the call outs of like the themes with what you've heard working with other startups, or what were your initial thoughts on what you saw?
Yeah, I think, well, just before we get to the actual insights, I wanted to just say that this was a really meaningful presentation. Thank you for all of the work that you put into it, and it's great to see how meaningful it can be when you can really derive insights from data that we've really struggled to pull together into a meaningful picture, because it's so it's in so many different places and that sort of thing. So very impressed with what you've been able to do. In terms of the insights themselves, yeah, I think this is in line with some just basic themes that we've had, but it's great to see it in this fashion from the qualitative as well as the quantitative stuff. I don't know if Natalie, if I know you've been working closely with the quantitative side of this survey, so just curious if this was surprising at all, or along the same lines.
Yeah, echoing Peter, +1 to how amazing of a presentation it is, and it's very exciting to see it all come to life. And in terms of the insights, yes, it does very much resemble our hunch of what the data would likely say, but it's incredibly valuable to be able to actually articulate it more tangibly and quantitatively and say this number of companies across different programs across many years feel X or Y way about the support that they've received. That in and of itself is incredibly valuable, not something we've been able to do at scale in the past. So yeah, the themes and insights around what founders value versus the support that they'd like to receive do match our hunch, our hypothesis, and our own initial analysis of the alumni survey in particular, because that, since it was a single data set, we could actually interpret that much more, but being able to see it more broadly and that the results hold is also very helpful. So no surprise, but surprised in being able to see the data with a lot more granularity at scale.
Yeah, a question I would have, so this is coming at a very interesting time in our evolution. We're looking at how to really rethink entrepreneurial support in a time of great change in our space, and so it's really well timed for us to be able to see the insights in this way. And then the other thing is we're in the midst of a project on improving our capability as an organization to leverage AI and machine learning and other transformative technologies to scale the impact that we can have as a nonprofit. And as you pointed out early, we don't have the technology depth or data analysis depth as a nonprofit that we would like, and so this has been a very helpful project to us. My question is around, one of the things we're wrestling with is how do we create a going forward architecture for data capture and deriving meaning from the data that we're getting. And one of our biggest challenges has been we do get a lot of data, but it's hard to get that cross-program visibility across all of our work in what you were presenting today. So curious in applying these new tools and technologies to the data that we did have, how difficult was it? And was this a fairly routine type of data problem to try to pull together, or what's the prognosis for the future for us as we think about how to apply some of these same technologies going forward?
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a good question, Peter. And I think it's it's a data problem that most organizations have, actually. Like, each organization, their need is evolving over time, and however they set up their data is never stable, and it's an ongoing effort in order to maintain it. One of the things that I really liked about the team, and Sydney, maybe you can speak more to this, but the project at the end entailed a data cleaning step, actually, which it compiled all of the data from the different surveys across different cohorts where you have different questions. And the goal here was that so long as your surveys have relatively the same format, you're able to bring all of the data together and look at the different columns, whether it's asking about a certain component for environmental startups versus other economic ones. This solution should be scalable across the different survey questions. This is, I think, something that you can account for in the architectural design. But Sydney, maybe, or people on the team, how did you feel in terms of like working with the data? So what are some of the strategies that you used when you were cleaning it?
Yeah, so I think the main thing that really helped for me was having a key or like a unique identifier. And I know there were those PitchBook IDs that I was able to match across time. And I'm not sure if it's because we were working from that sample data set, which already slightly had things compiled, maybe more than they would be extracted straight from Xano. But even in the cases where if there wasn't IDs, I think you collect so much information that we would be able to match the organizations based off, like, I think there was the founder, the name of the company, like there's just so much niche information where if there was a case where maybe we didn't have a key, it's definitely possible to create it. So that was definitely a lifesaver for me when I was cleaning the data and joining everything.
Thank you.
I have another question. Maybe it's a bit more technical, and I know that you're gonna train us on like how to take this forward. But on the themes that are identified and how you filter and view the different themes, some of them were around like the descriptions of the different types of companies versus others, like the feedback that they were providing. I know you mentioned that we can manually go in and specify the types of themes that we'd want to be able to see. But just, I guess, curious for your thoughts on like any best practices for how to best differentiate between the two, like for it to analyze like company descriptor information versus company feedback, and how those two things show up in the dashboards, and like almost how to toggle them so that the system doesn't conflate the two. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, I guess I kind of see the data being those two components, like the company descriptor information and then the company feedback, like on the program that we ask of them.
Oh yeah, that definitely makes sense. And it might be helpful if I share my screen again, just so that we can see. Okay. So I think in the case that you were mentioning, what would help the most would be utilizing these filters. So especially because the Delta applicant pool was like so large, like thousands of mostly company descriptors, like you mentioned, and then we would be able to filter here if you mostly just want to see, okay, like what kind of founders and companies are applying to your programs. I would filter it like this. And then if you wanted to focus more so on the alumni and their specific needs rather than what the companies that are engaged in your program are all about, then I would recommend filtering here. But yeah, for this version of the deliverable, this is what I would recommend.
Got it. No, that's super helpful. And I'm assuming we can, like, as we add data sources, we'll be able to toggle between them. And I guess there's a world where we can like view them as like I'm just making something up, like data from 2024 is a data set, but then there's like a macro data set that has like all historical data, and then we can view in those different ways. Is that right? Like the different data sources?
Yeah, and as we were going through the presentation, I was like, oh, it would have been nice to have some type of temporal piece, like you mentioned, like since you've been collecting data for so long, to be able to filter on more recent data would be cool, but that's definitely an easy add for sure.
Got it. No, thank you. That's super helpful. Yeah, those were my main questions, and I think that once we start integrating it internally and then play with it, it'll be great to see like the different visualizations that we'll be able to come up with.
In terms of some of the steps that you took to get to this point, are those pieces that we can reuse? So for example, like the cleanup scripts that you use to clean the data, can we leverage those, or is the deliverable the final the tool for visualizing the data?
Yeah, thank you, Peter, for that question. We will be sharing all the files with you, all the scripts with you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Yeah, I guess my other question was similar to what you just answered, so I'm not sure. I think I understood. So in terms of like, if we were to do the next survey, and then wanted to compare, the current survey to the last survey, what might that look like? How would we do that the next survey? How would we run that through the system?
Okay, Sydney, you can take it anyway. I'm gonna.
Okay, so I feel like it would first be helpful to. I'm going to share my screen again. I don't think we really walked through exactly how it's set up right now. So what you're looking at is a Jupyter notebook in Google Colab. So through Google Drive, we'll be able to share this with you, and it will export an HTML file that you just download and open locally. But in the case of for running this in the future, you'll see here, it takes the data in as an Excel spreadsheet. So it would be a matter of, and also the spreadsheet has to be, here we go. So this is the main folder that's making everything happen. It would be a matter of first uploading the data that you plan on using into the data folder. And these are just the outputs that it creates. And then just a few tweaks that we'll definitely specify in like a written and possibly a video to show you how you can run this in the future. But for the dashboard, I specified the qualitative and quantitative columns here. So I think if the survey columns did change, you would just want to change what the columns are named and whether they're qualitative or quantitative data. And yeah, I feel like, well, it'll definitely be helpful to see the longer walkthrough document, but we made it so that it won't be too difficult to run again.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that was helpful. Just seeing the is that Python? Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Great.
No other questions on my side.
Yes, that sounds good. And just thank you everybody for the detailed presentation. And first to the whole team, I'm just going to read the names across my screen, but Sydney, Ayushi, Melissa, Naman, thank you all for your really hard work, and the teammates who aren't here today as well. I know that this was a really long project, and one of my favorite focuses about the project was about its implementation. Peter, you were asking a lot of questions like, how do we carry this project moving forward? And I think the team really carefully designed that we can add new data sources, that as you do more surveys, they'll flow into this notebook. And it's designed in a way where you can really just, after you set it up, you click a couple buttons and it'll run through the whole process and you can use this moving forward. So really, really excited for just the whole team and this deliverable. I think it's going to be useful moving forward. And really congratulations to everyone here. This was fantastic.
Thank you so much, Jay. And thank you so much, WillCap, for all the support throughout this project. We kept on bugging you, and you were like there to give us the data and help us and answer our questions. And a huge shout out to Jay and Sean for being great mentors. There had been times when we were stuck and we just reached out to them and we don't know what to do next. And everybody was super helpful. And a huge shout out to the team for showing up, for doing the great work together.
Yeah, definitely echo all of that. I was telling Ayushi earlier that I'm coming back from being sick, and so I'm not my my normal bubbly self today. But really great work. Thank you to the team, Sydney, Naman, Melissa. Great presentation today, and we're very excited about this, and we really appreciate all the work that you've done bring it together.
Perfect. As a next step, I think we will come up with a video and a document. We'll put it together so that you could get trained to use it, and we can do a quick 30 minutes call sometime later this week or the next week, and we can just take it from there. Sounds good?
Thanks so much.
That sounds perfect. I just wanted to take the time to also thank the team. This has been very good to see, and especially the fact that it's not just a one-off, but a tool that we can continue using moving forward and continue deriving insights from them. So thank you very much to the Delta team for this.